one of the privileges of being a part of a church family is walking with people through life. And I think that's fairly normal when we're talking about success and moments of celebration. But I think it's more important to walk with people through difficulty, moments of sorrow and struggle. And I think being a part of a church family, that's one of the great privileges, is to walk through life with people like Dane and Katie, who are joined with me here today. And they're a part of the Restoration Church family, and we love them a lot. And they're going to tell a little bit about their story and what things they're going through right now. And 2020 has been difficult for everyone, but depending on the person, the degree of difficulty ranges, right? And I wouldn't ask you this question because it's a really personal question if I didn't prepare you beforehand, if I didn't kind of know where you guys are coming from or hear kind of your story so far, because it's a really personal question. But Dane and Katie, could you kind of give us an idea, what are some of the things that you've had to walk through in 2020 so far?
Yeah, sure. To begin, like when all of the whole COVID pandemic thing started out, like in March, like a lot of people, Katie and I were one of the people that lost our job, which for those of you who don't know, like Katie and I, we live at the location that we work. It's just part of our job position. So with that, our minds were going, okay, well, temporarily lay it off, but like what if that becomes permanent? We then lose our job, and then where do we live type of deal. So like so that was the beginning of that year, and we were just trying to figure out, okay, should we be looking for other jobs in the future? Like, what do we do? We're just trying to, I guess, pray and think through that, and so that's kind of how it all began, I guess.
So from us losing our jobs, so we'll bring you, I guess, up until the summer. So this is going to get kind of personal. We love that.
Thank you for that, by the way.
And so we have wanted to have kids for a very long time. We've been trying to have that for probably 3 years now. And we found out in the summer that we have some reproductive things going on. And so that dream and that hope of having kids was very much dashed by the diagnosis that we received, and just being infertile and not being able to have our own kids. That was something that we had to grieve. And so that happened in the summer, and then in July we ended up actually getting pregnant, and we ended up miscarrying that baby. And that was really difficult. That was a really hard season in our lives, and we're still going through that. We're still processing that grief, because when you are going through something like infertility, and something that is it's an ambiguous grief. It's something that people don't really quite understand, and they don't really know what it is that you're grieving, because you're not grieving something that was lost. You're grieving a dream. Yeah. And you're grieving a hope, something that you had really envisioned for your future. And so when we had that miscarriage, for us now, we were grieving a life, and something that, you'd never been so close to death. It was in my body, and that was really hard. It was hard to wonder what God was doing, and I really wrestled with that, cried myself to sleep, just wondered why the Lord would allow us to go through that. And he brought us out of that. He brought us out of that dark place. And I don't know if you want to add to it.
Yeah, I know, like Katie and I, we've been married for 4 years now, and ever since we first started to getting to know one another, I knew that Katie wanted two things. She wanted to be a wife, and she wanted to be a mom. And so God was gracious enough to allow us to find each other, and so she's arguably the best wife ever. Sorry for those who are married, Aaron, but and then just even for myself, like I knew that I wanted to get married, and I knew that I loved kids and everything, but I didn't really realize how much I wanted kids until like I met Katie and seeing like her love for children, the way that she interacts with like our nieces and our nephews, or just like those in kids church, and just our neighbors' kids and friends and stuff like that. And to see like us struggle, I guess, over the past 3 years with that, and then for the first time to see like a pregnancy test actually come out positive. And I remember that was probably like the most like joy that Katie and I have like experienced together, other than like our wedding day together, and just like after all of that. And then like I can't even remember, was it like a day later, or
Yeah, it was pretty early on. We miscarried, and we share this not to shine the spotlight on how hard our journey has been, but really to illuminate and highlight God's faithfulness in our lives, and that we can even talk about this today, because there's been healing there, and we trust the Lord, and He is always good, even when we sometimes can't trace His hand in things, but we can always trace His heart, and we know that He is always good.
Wow.
And so to add on to that, it gets worse. It gets worse from here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can I just, I didn't even know you were going to share this part of the story, so thank you for your courage for sharing that. Continue on.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing that helped a lot, just with that, before we like move on to the next thing, like Katie was saying, just there were nights where Katie and like myself, I guess more for Katie as well, just because she normally stays up at night just processing the day and everything, and I'm out in like a couple seconds almost.
Yeah.
But like after this, like we just, I guess, started getting into the habit of just reading Psalm, I think it was 46. Each night before bed, sometimes reading through it several times before going to bed, and just that was a passage that was very encouraging to us, and it was I don't know, it was just something that really gave us peace, and just kind of brought our attention off of our circumstances, but who God was.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that was just really helpful while we were going through that portion. But yeah, like
So 8 days later, we had my parents stop in and visit us, and they came into our apartment, and we were sitting down with them, and my dad told us that he has an aggressive form of cancer. So that was 8 days later, after processing the miscarriage, and then having my dad, tell us that he has cancer in his lungs. And, immediately I burst into tears. My dad and I are really close. I'm definitely, I'm just, my dad, I just love him. So it was really difficult, especially, I questioned a lot of things. I was wondering, like, my dad has been a pastor his whole life. Why would he get lung cancer? Why is this happening to somebody that loves the Lord? And all those questions just immediately flooded to the surface. And it really showed me in that moment of, like, okay, what's inside of you comes out. And when you're when you get hit, what is in you is going to come out. And just me, like, just asking those questions to the Lord in my head of, like, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you, it feels like you're putting us in these situations. And I remember thinking like, okay, I am going to either choose to trust the Lord in this moment, or I'm not. And thankfully, I'm trusting the Lord.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was a conscious, like, I had to make that decision to trust Him. just because the circumstances around me were being like, oh, you shouldn't, this is just too crazy. But the Lord has just shown up and given me so much peace. And more than, when you think of situations, you think like, I could never be put in that situation. I could never endure that. That is just too hard. But when you're in it, God's grace is so sufficient for you, and so sufficient for every single moment and for every single day. It's not like he gives you a little bit to endure months. He gives you it every day. Yeah. And he's with you. And I just think of him as our refuge and our shield, and just that mental picture of like, the Lord is my refuge in times of trouble. Yeah. He cares for those who trust in him. Yeah. And so that has been something that has really been something I've been thinking about and just trusting him with as we are going through these deep, deep waters right now.
Wow. Thank you guys for sharing. I had other questions I was going to ask, but you guys were so forthright with your testimony and your story. It's like, I don't know what else I could add. Like, you guys have been in a stormy sea. Mm-hmm. That's what the picture of Psalm 46 is, right? You're in the middle of a sea with waves rocking back and forth, and your boat's going like this, and you can't see land anywhere around you. It's like, where is the way out of this? And you're still going through that.
We're not out. Yeah. By any means. So, and that's the thing with testimonies. It's sometimes people share them when they're out and they're better and they feel good and life's great, but we're in the middle of it right now, and we're still questioning. We are still clinging to our lifeline, because Jesus is that source of strength. Like, without him, we couldn't be doing this. Yeah. Like, he has to be our strength, because sometimes life just knocks you down. Wow. Knocks you down.
So thank you for allowing us to walk with you through this. And I would say to those, if you're struggling with things, I mean, that's why we want people to be honest, because I think it is more important to walk people through the struggles, through the things that you're going through. I mean, it's easy to celebrate, but through those valleys, or through the stormy sea, I should use that metaphor, those are actually the more important times to actually walk with people. So guys, thank you so much. I was going to add things, but I don't think it would be appropriate. The only thing I will add is this. Can I just read Psalm 46 for you guys, for them? This is kind of like their testimony. This is who God is to them, as it says in Psalm 46, and this is kind of to you guys as well listening. It says this in Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And this has probably been more real to you than ever before. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation or home of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when the morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, and the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow, shatters the spear. He burns chariots with fire. And then it says this, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.